Today, we're talking about some of my favorite lures and presentations to use whenever those conditions are at their toughest. These lures are my secret weapons that always seem to get me some really big bites. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one.
Check. Oh, I got him. Oh.
Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And we older anglers always have a good excuse ready to be whipped out to explain why we didn't catch any bass the last time we headed out to the water. Such as, the moon was full the night before. A cold front blew through. The barometric pressure was too high. There was too much fishing pressure. The water was too cloudy. The water was too clear. The water was too cold. And the list goes on and on and on. But the truth of the matter is, there is no scientific evidence of all the research that's been done over the many decades we've been bass fishing. None of it supports any of those excuses. The truth of the matter is, there is only ever two reasons why you're not catching fish. Number one, there are no bass in the area that you're fishing. And number two, you're not throwing a presentation that they want to bite. Fix those two things, you will catch bass every single time. That's what I focused on, and that's how I'm able to catch more bass than I ever have before since I was a little boy. Since I stopped trying to make excuses and listening to the old wives' tales and looking at things through a more pragmatic, scientific approach, I've really increased my catch rate substantially, and the size of the fish I've been catching has been going through the roof. Now, today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite lures and presentations that I like to throw whenever those days are really tough. These are ways that I can generate some strikes when perhaps maybe the bass don't want to cooperate so much, but I can still elicit some really nice bites. But before we get started, if you like bass fishing content that always tries to be inclusive, whether you fish from a boat or whether you're fishing from the bank, and always thinking about budget, because not everyone's got a lot of money to spend on bass fishing gear, then this is the channel for you. Click that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, give this video a like. I would really appreciate it. So, if those bass are always ready to bite something, how do we go about figuring it out what it is that they want? Well, if they're feeling more finicky, if they're feeling like they're pressured or the weather's not quite right, you can still get some really good bites. And that's a day that we're using something like, a stick bait, a worm. You can use something like this 4-inch, you can use a 5-inch worm, or you can even go with something like a trick worm. A finesse type of bite is a great way to start triggering those bites on the days when those bass are feeling whatever. They're not in the mood to bite, but you can still get some really good bites by slowing things down. Now, I've heard a lot of guys say that they won't do that. Fishing a worm is boring, right? It's slow, it's methodical. But then these are the same guys who at the boat ramp are complaining that they can't get any bites whenever they were trying to fish as fast as they possibly could. I get it. A lot of times you want to put that trolling motor down and you want to burn down the bank and you want to work and cover water as fast as you can. And on a lot of days that can be really effective. But if you are experiencing a rough day and you notice those bass are just not as active, you're going to have to slow things down if you want to get bites. And for me, that means going with things like a wacky rig or a NACO rig, or my favorite, the Waco rig, which always gets me a few bites. And doesn't matter what conditions it is. I have fished a Waco rig in some of the most absolute toughest conditions out there. And you guys already know a Waco rig is just a Texas rig stick bait with an EWG hook, a small 1/0 light wire EWG hook that I just put this thing through. I Texas rig it, I put a nail weight, I fold it over, and I put the nail weight right in there so it falls like a wacky rig. But when you twitch it, it's almost like an old Sluggo or a Banjo Minnow, and then it goes right back to that fall. That's the big difference between that and, say, a weightless Texas rig. With a weightless Texas rig, it's going to fall one way or the other. The Waco rig always responds very predictably, which makes it a lot easier to fish. Now, even yesterday when I was out on the water and it was terrible conditions, we had a thunderstorm came through, the temperature dropped 20 degrees only for the humidity to increase and come back up later in the day. We had calm winds, we had strong winds. I had a Waco rig tied on and I was still able to catch a nice fish.
Bass may be adapted to see it, but I honestly don't know how far visibility we have. I should have brought that napkin. Oh, that's not a bad fish. Apparently, the Waco rig gets bites even in super stained water. Come here, buddy. Apparently, the Waco rig gets bites even in super stained water. How about that? That black blue worm came in. Come on. There we go. Come on, can I get it free? I got to get the thing. But what's it's? Come on. There we go. Trying to get myself some line. Oh yeah, I got him pretty good. There we go. All right. Waco rig doing work. And another little bass. Not quite a pound. Appreciate it, dude. Oop, there he goes. All right, let's see if we can't keep this train rolling.
Okay, so I caught a nice little fish with the Waco rig, but that let me know there were fish in that area, and more importantly, they would bite something. So even though I might have had to slow things down, and even though the water was stained, and we had a cold front come through, we had a storm front come through, and now we had bluebird skies in the afternoon, I was able to generate a strike. That's when I went to, well, another new favorite toy. If you saw the last video, you've seen this guy. This is what I call the Dum Dum rig. It's an underspin that I've clipped a beetle spin blade to it. I'm using that as my line tie, just like I would for a beetle spin. And boy, this thing sure does catch a lot of fish. As soon as I tied this thing on and started working through that same area, we had some stained water. The water was actually very stained. And I started working this through that stained water on the very first cast. I got a nice bite and ended up with a very nice fish.
All right. We got the old Dum Dum rig tied on with a 4.8-inch Guggen Saucy Slimmer. A little bit bigger swim bait today. We've got a lot of stained water, so it's not going to be as much of a visual presentation as much as... Oh, there we go, I got him. That's not a bad one. All right. Ooh. He choked it too. Come here, little dude. I gotta get you down. Sorry, buddy. I'm gonna get the button done. Let me get the button done. I couldn't have done that any more stupidly if I tried. All right. Come here, dude. Well, not a bad little fish. Let me see. He choked it through for the mouth. Beautiful. The old Dum Dum rig coming in again. Yeah, a little over a pound. Not quite pound and a quarter, but definitely over a pound. Beautiful little bass. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And there he goes. All right, let's see if we can't do that again.
Now, that wasn't even the only fish I caught on the Dum Dum rig. I was able to catch 3 or 4 other really nice fish. Now, they're not giants, but It's a terrible day, right? I should not be getting any bites at all. I should be getting skunked, but I'm getting fish after fish after fish. And there were some bank anglers and another guy in a kayak not too far from me. And they were all talking. I could hear the people on the bank talking about not getting any bites. In fact, the lady who was with the guy on the bank said, I wonder if that guy out there in that boat's getting any bites. And I heard her and I said, yes, I've caught quite a few so far. And then the guy in the kayak yelled over because, water carries voices. He's probably about 200 yards away. He said, I haven't caught anything. I don't know where you're finding these fish. It's very simple if you're very methodical. Like I said, I go with finesse and I had a bunch of stained water. So I went with something that had some thump and some flash. Now, I did trade this little mare out for a bigger Guggen saucy slimmer that was 4.8 inches, but then I went back down to this size just to see if there was any difference. And no, I was still getting about the same kind of bites from the same kind of fish. Now, there's a last technique, and one that I always love to go to, one that we always love to go to, but we're mistakenly told that you can only fish it during certain times, and that's top water. Now, there were some really bad conditions. We had a lot of wind. We had a lot of pressure. The water was really stained. It was murky, and a storm was blowing in. But I had this tied on anyway. This is a good old Fish Lab popping frog. And I was working it around a particular creek arm, a little back pocket. And right after I tied it on, I was getting some attention, which means there were bass there and they were interested. So I had to dial in that presentation a little bit. I was working it a little bit too fast. But when I slowed it down and I let it have some pauses, jerk, 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 let it go like that, make some bloops and some splashes, twitch it harder, twitch it softer, and then let it sit, that's when I was able to really connect on a very nice fish.
We know that they are in here. Well, I got blown up on twice, and it got taken under twice. But when I went to go pull, nothing. Oh, that's a good one. That's a better one. Oh, there we go. Finally. There we go. He's got it. Come here, dude. Don't go under the boat. Yeah.
That's another big fish.
Well, he's not bad. He's not bad at all. Pound and a half, pound and 3/4, about in there. Probably closer to a pound and a half, but I had him good. Yeah, he's between a pound and a half and a pound and 3/4. Beautiful fish. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, there he goes. Let's see if we can't get some more.
So in conditions I had no business catching something on a topwater popping frog, I caught something, and a nice fish too. But the sun came out, the pressure increased, the temperature got super, super hot, and you would expect that bite to die down, but it didn't. I went over to the other side of the lake, and just because I always want to, I tied on this Yozuri walking bait. This thing is great. It's right up there with a head and spook as far as I'm concerned. It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit lighter. It's got a little bit of a different knock in it. It's not as kind of a deep, rumbling, thumpy knock that a head and spook has, but I've still caught a ton of fish on this thing. So I thought, instead of going with the spook, which is a little bit bigger, I went with this guy. And even though the water was stained, the water's super stained, I'm not caring so much about the color. I really don't. I'm caring about making splash and making vibration, because the bass aren't even going to see the thing until they're right up on it. So I put that spook out, tried it a few times, again, changing how I was working it. And well, when I saw some bass splashing over to the side, indicating they were there and they were active, I cast that little walking bait over there, and well, this was the result.
I think I gotta switch to a popper. I think I'm gonna have to switch to a popper. I just got bumped. Got him. All right. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. I gotta get you. You're not getting me with the hooks. You're not getting me with the hooks there, buddy. Nope, you're not getting me with these hooks. It's nice to catch one on a spook. But the thing is, they want it slow, slow, slow. Come on. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There we are. There we are. All right. A little over a pound, not quite a pound and a quarter. Nice little bass, beautiful little bass on that Yozuri walking bait. All right, whoop, there he goes. Let's go catch some more.
There you go. Worked it slow, worked it right through that area in the middle of the day with bluebird, sunny skies, high pressure situation. You know, we're always told you can't fish topwater during then. Don't fish topwater during then. But the bass don't know that. That particular bass that bit that lure, he didn't know that. She didn't know that. Whatever it was, it caught a nice fish. And I was like, okay, maybe I can work that spook through here. Maybe I can work it a little bit faster. So I tried again. Instead of pausing it, you know, I was seeing those splashing bass. They were kind of knocking at it a little bit. But whenever I worked it a little bit faster, like you normally would, trying to cover a little bit of water, well, I ended up catching another really nice fish.
I mean, we had a storm. Storm, check. Oh, I got him. Oh, that's another one on the old, ooh, that's a bigger one. That's a nicer one, a much, much nicer one. But he came up one after that thing. Buddy. You are not poking me. That's two. Ooh, get out of my hand. That's two on the old spook. Well, walking bait. It's not, technically it's not a spook because it's not a heading. Right in the top of the mouth. Alright, get out of there. It's another nice one. That's another nice fish. He's got some black things going on the top of his head. Beautiful fish, gorgeous fish. Thank you so much. Right at 1.5 pounds, maybe just shy, but pretty close to 1.5 pounds. Thank you so much, buddy. And there he goes. All right, let's keep this train rolling.
So on a day, I had no business catching any fish, let alone topwater fish. That walking bait pulled through. So I was able to catch bass with a popping frog. I was able to catch bass with a worm, with a finesse style presentation. I was able to catch bass with this goofy thing, the Dum Dum rig. I caught quite a few with this. And then I was able to catch more fish on topwater in the middle of the day with bluebird skies and it hot as it can be. So don't listen to everybody who tells you a bunch of excuses. Listen to the bass. Figure out what it is that they want, figure out what areas that they are in, and you will be rewarded. Attack it from a different angle. When you know the days are going to be tough, slow things down. That's what I do. I maybe start with a little bit of finesse and try to see how active those bass are going to be. And if I get a few bites, maybe I can ratchet it up. Or if I know that water's super, super stained and maybe we've got some wind, well, I can do something like a spinnerbait, like that Dum Dum rig, or like the Beetle Swim, something that's got some flash, something that's got some thump, just to see if I can attract some bass. If I can, then that's what I go with. If I can't, then again, I slow things back down to a finesse presentation. And just because that water's super stained, that doesn't mean that a wacky rig or a NACO rig is not going to work. They will. So keep that in mind. So if you're having a hard time whenever you head out to the water, for whatever reason, forget about those reasons. Tie on a bait, look at the situation, look at the conditions, tie on the bait that you think is going to work, and just start working it. You are going to catch way more fish than you think you will, even in the toughest conditions. So there you have it. My best presentations and lures that really do a great job on those super tough days. They get great bites and I'm catching some really nice fish, even when I have no business getting any bites at all. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.